Welcome to the Ebbs of History, the show where we dive into the strangest, wildest, and sometimes downright creepiest stories the past has to offer. From dancing plagues to pirate queens, we'll laugh, we'll gasp, but most importantly, we will learn how history is way cooler than your textbook ever told you. We're your history-loving hosts, Jason,
Zoe, and Gavin.
where every episode, the three of us will take a quick trip through time, then see what lessons we can still learn today. This is the Ebbs of History. Hello and welcome back to the Ebbs of History. So, anything you guys want to talk about that you did this week?
I had auditions for my school's musical this week, which was pretty cool. So I'm waiting on that class list to come back.
Very good. Gavin, did you do anything?
I had 2 tests this week. One on Wednesday and one today when we're filming on Thursday. It was for math on Wednesday and history, just like this podcast.
Yeah, and how do you think you
today.
did on your history?
I think I did pretty good.
Yeah, what was it about?
It was about the Islamic Empire and the Middle East in medieval times.
Zoe?
This is also finals week for me. The end of the semester, gotta start studying and cramming and all that fun jazz.
What about your AP European history? Did you have to take a final in that?
I did not have to take a final in that. My class is set up like a block, so it's 50 kids in total, and we all combined and we all did parlor science experiments. Me and my best friend, we made slime, which was really fun. But some people, they did like Coke and Mentos and elephant toothpaste and just like stuff like that.
Fun. I know elephant toothpaste is a lot of fun.
It was.
So how does that relate to AP European history?
So in right before the French Revolution, leading up to the French Revolution, the wives of these scholars would invite over a bunch of like philosophers and scientists and just all that stuff, and they would talk about their findings and debate their findings. So it was kind of like a spin on that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't completely wasted time in your AP European class.
But it also could tie into the scientific revolution and just all like the whole discovery of just new science experiments in general.
Very cool. All right, I think we're gonna get into our topic for today. So, got a question for you. What if your birthday never existed?
That's the question?
Yeah, that's the question. What if your birthday never existed?
Well, you would hypothetically not exist.
There you go. That's right. It's a very good point. So, what if the entire year you were born never happened at all? Today's episode is not really an event or a person. Today's pod is about an idea, a theory. Some could say a conspiracy theory. We are going to discuss what's called the phantom time theory. It's also called the phantom time hypothesis. A modern historian in the 90s claimed that 300 years of the Middle Ages never happened. He suggested that the calendars were faked by the rulers of the time. Just never happened. Poof, gone. According to this theory, much of early medieval Europe, Charlemagne, the year 1000, knights, castles, all of it, might have been an elaborate calendar error.
That's crazy.
Right?
That's an insane theory. That's a crazy take.
I mean, I'm excited to learn about it.
So how on earth could 300 years just disappear or be invented? To understand that, we need to meet the man who started it all. His name was Dr. Herbert Illig, a German historian who in the 1990s made a bold claim that the years 614 to 911 CE, roughly 300 years, never actually took place. Instead, he said, powerful rulers faked those centuries to make their reigns seem grander and older. According to Illig, it wasn't the Middle Ages, it was the made-up ages.
Oh.
Huh.
Here's the story. Illig believed that in around 700 CE, the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III and Pope Sylvester II wanted to live in that millennium moment. They wanted it to seem as if they were ruling around the turn of the millennium, 1000 CE. So Illig claims they fiddled with the calendar, pushing history forward a few centuries to make it look like the year 1000 had already arrived, even though it was really only around the year 700 or so. He also claimed that Charlemagne, one of medieval Europe's most famous kings, of being completely fictional, a sort of medieval superhero invented by the church to legitimize their power.
I feel like with such a big thing with Charlemagne, I feel like that changes history a lot.
With
Yeah.
Charlemagne not being part of history, yeah, he was kind of a big deal back then.
Big part of history.
Yes. So if the phantom time theory were true, our history books would be full of imaginary emperors and castles that never existed. All right, it's easy to laugh this off, but Illig did have his reasons, at least ones that sounded convincing. He pointed out that few archaeological finds clearly date to the Middle Ages. He argued that calendars, like the Julian and Gregorian ones, were off by about 300 years. So maybe those years were artificially added later. And he noted that some historical records from Europe, the Islamic world, and China didn't seem to line up perfectly. It was a mystery that made people wonder, could we really trust the timeline we're taught?
Did any prominent historians agree with this theory, or was it just this crazy dude that was just saying 300 years of history was erased?
It's kind of that way, yeah. I mean, there was a couple people that were like, "Oh, okay, whatever," but the consensus was, we'll go over this in a little bit, but the consensus was that this was complete hooey.
Was it just was it just some random schmoes off the street, or was it any notable names that was yes, this is so true?
No, not really. No. And that's why it's a conspiracy theory. And no true historians, I believe, really subscribe to this. I mean, they definitely looked into it. It posted in one of the historical journals, but instantly debunked. So, spoiler alert, no, the Middle Ages didn't vanish into thin air. Modern historians and scientists have examined Illig's claims, and the evidence just doesn't hold up. First, there are real people, physical artifacts, coins, pottery, manuscripts, and entire buildings from those so-called missing centuries. You can visit them today. Second, astronomical records prove those years actually existed. Ancient astronomers carefully noted eclipses, and their timings match modern calculations perfectly. If 300 years were missing, those eclipse records would be wildly off. And third, written records from outside Europe, like the Byzantine Empire or China, line up exactly with our current calendar. So unless every civilization on Earth coordinated a 300-year hoax, yeah, it's safe to say the phantom time theory is phantasmic.
Which buildings were built in this time period? Just for a fun little question.
Oh my gosh, it's anything that was built in 700 or before. Anything in ancient Greece, anything in Egypt.
Okay, this dude
I mean,
was,
just
whacked.
those two alone,
Yeah.
Lots of buildings in England that we have probably walked through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that now, that's such a bold claim to make.
Yes.
With these 300 years were gone, even though all these buildings were built then, very important buildings too.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, how did this dude even come up with this? Because there's obviously dates on manuscripts and buildings that were built in this time. This dude seems like he was just one day high with his friends, was like, what if this didn't happen?
Let's think about that. When you're watching videos today on YouTube and they're making a recipe or something and they say a word just completely wrong, like instead of microwave, they say microwave,
Yeah.
They know that that's completely wrong, but it's going to drive views to their site. So maybe this guy, I don't know, maybe this guy was thinking, hey, no one really knows me, but here we are today talking about him. And this is a
Yeah.
theory that is talked about not just here on our podcast. There are other podcasts and historians talk about it and things like that. It's been in movies and stuff too. It worked if that was his goal.
It's like the first ever influencer. He's just trying to farm for clout and views.
Maybe, I don't know. It's complete speculation on my part. And I don't think there's ever any way we could find that out.
Exactly.
It's like if a company did a huge publicity stunt, but this is only for a single person.
Right.
He
got notoriety out of it.
Yeah, I got one historian. Why do you need that much popularity?
Right. Still, there's something fascinating about this whole idea, isn't there? Why would somebody want to erase or invent time? It reminds us that history isn't just a pile of dates. It's a detective story, one where evidence, reason, and a little bit of healthy skepticism are our best tools. Every generation re-examines the past, and that's a good thing. But we also have to weigh our imagination against the facts. Because when we start ignoring evidence, it's not just time that goes missing. Truth does too. The phantom time theory might not be real history, but it's a real reminder of why history matters. Dates, documents, and dusty ruins may seem boring, but they're what keep our story honest, because time, like truth, only disappears if we stop looking for it. I want to go into a new segment. I'm going to call it Historiography. Since this is such a short episode, I want to talk a little bit about a broader idea that this theory highlights: historiography. Before I go on, any guesses on what historiography might mean?
Is it kind of like the topic that we brought up in last episode where history is written by the winners and you don't really hear another side, you only hear one side?
Yes, that is definitely a large part of it. Historiography is the study of the actual methods used by historians in developing history. Not the history itself, but the methods the historians use to come to their conclusions. The historiography of a topic looks at how historians have studied the topic, what particular sources, techniques of research, and theoretical approaches they employed to the interpretation of their documentary sources. So, with that in mind, that goes right into what you just said, Zoe, about history is written by the winners. That is historiography. You're not getting, you look at a document that was written by the winner of a war. You're not seeing another document written by the loser of that war.
Kind of like building off of that, it's kind of like you only get the records from the British side of the war, kind of not war, but like conflict in India. Like you don't get much of the Indian side. And the British were in their own territory and they were not approving of their traditions.
Yeah.
Another thing is that even if there is like a lot of written records of the loser's side, it's gonna all be buried by the winners only wanting to show like their side, and they'll just kind of dig that into the ground and just like make grave for it and kind of metaphorically bury it.
That's a really good point.
It's a very good point. I study the Norman conquest pretty heavily. That is a perfect example of this.
Oh, yeah.
The Bayeux Tapestry was made years after the Battle of Hastings by the Normans.
It was almost like a fan page.
It was like a fan page.
For
right.
the conquerors.
Yes. So it was commissioned by William's brother, Odo, his half-brother Odo. And so there is no English flavor on the Bayeux Tapestry, but the Bayeux Tapestry is the only primary source that we have from that time, right?
That's why that's not my favorite part of history, because there's only, like, the main source is so biased. Like, there's no other sides.
That's what I find fun about it, though, is because there's a study, the historiography of this. Historians have looked at the Bayeux Tapestry, and they're saying that in the margins and certain things, the English women that actually sewed the Bayeux Tapestry put in little things here and there that people back then, the English, knew what it meant, and it was not even seen by the Normans. Like, they saw it, but they didn't understand what it meant. It's like, it's very subversive, but that's what I find so fascinating.
Another thing is that like newer history is way easier to study because it's way easier to differentiate winners and losers side in each perspective other than something that happened nearly 1,000 years ago or more, because all the losing records just kind of fade away, but the winning records stay, especially for something like the Battle of Hastings.
That's right. That's exactly what you were saying before, too. Yeah, that makes sense. That said, stemming from historiography is something that is called historical revisionism. Just a few moments ago, I said that every generation reexamines the past and that's a good thing. That is historical revisionism. The practice of challenging, re-examining, and changing the preconceived notions that surround a topic. This re-examination can be because new documents have been discovered, interpretations of something have changed, myriad reasons to think differently about an event or a person. Like the one that I just brought up with the English women that were sewing the Bayeux Tapestry.
Yeah, I had no clue that was part of the Bayeux Tapestry. That's really cool, especially having a Battle of Hastings nerd father like you. I never knew that. That's crazy.
And this book was written that posits this theory by somebody that is very well respected. And it may not be proven true, but it's another way to think about the history that we see.
Oh, yeah.
The bits on the Bayeux Tapestry, it's like kind of a show where there is really small details, but you won't notice them unless it's pointed out to you.
Right. Another example of historical revisionism, and this is a big one, is what we knew about the Egyptians before the Rosetta Stone was found. There was an interpretation of what things meant and what had happened in Egyptian history based solely on what we could see and what we could dig up. We couldn't read anything that was written on the things, so everything was a guess at that point. Then, the Rosetta Stone was found, and once deciphered, which, by the way, is another great story,
We should totally do an episode on that.
we totally will, we could actually read what the hieroglyphs said. This changed everything that was thought about the Egyptians before them. We could read what a small jar held and why it was placed inside of a tomb. We could read who was buried in that tomb and how powerful they were, and even what they did during their time. This is a form of historical revisionism, probably one of the biggest to ever occur.
Finding the Rosetta Stone and deciphering it flips Egyptian history on its head in the course
Absolutely.
of a day.
Mhm.
So much things that we thought happened changed in about a day.
In the blink of an eye.
Like,
Absolutely.
as soon as we knew all the hieroglyphics meant, we could decipher it, and it changed Egyptian history easily.
So if we didn't have historical revisionism, then we would still think everything that we thought before we found the Rosetta Stone. Historical revisionism is a good thing, and it's changed our perspective on the Egyptians.
Can it also propose a bad part of people trying, like dictators trying to change the history?
And that leads me into my next point. Historical revisionism is common and necessary, and usually an uncontroversial process. It develops and refines the historical record to make it more complete and accurate. However, on the flip side, there is historical negationism, where quote unquote historians deny the moral significance or accuracy of the historical record. The phantom time theory is one such instance, albeit a small and easily debunked theory. What we have to watch out for as logical, critically thinking people is when the revisionists use historical negationism to deny larger, more culturally significant topics like the Holocaust. That's right. There are people that have an agenda today to deny that the Holocaust ever happened. Completely offensive and absurd.
That was actually going to be one of my connections in our connection section, but I guess I'll just say it now because it ties in really well. The connections was to erasing history, like this guy was. It was what they were doing in the Third Reich
Hmm?
during Hitler's reign, that they were literally burning books about Jewish culture. They were burning and breaking Jewish stores, and obviously all of the concentration camps. It ties in like that.
That's right. It's exactly right.
Yeah.
This leads me to my final point on this. We have to learn to be skeptical of what we are reading or studying and ask critical questions. Who's writing this piece? What is their relationship to the material and to the event or historical figure? Are they writing to try and confirm what actually happened? Or are they writing to change something from the past to suit their present day ideals? We can't read something without at least knowing why the author has written what they have.
This kind of sounds like the DBQ questions on
I'm going to stop right there. What's a DBQ question?
document-based question,
And that is for
the history exams for the AP test.
the AP history exams. That's right.
So during that, you are encouraged to look at the sources on that to help you get a point of view on who's saying it. So it's really is basically the whole like discussion that we just had. Like say the document is something about the Mayflower and it's someone that was on the Mayflower. That's going to have a totally different perspective from someone in like Portugal or Spain that didn't leave and didn't go. Like it just totally changes the whole purpose of that document and the whole purpose of that art piece.
That's right. So, lessons learned. What do you think we can learn from this, Gavin?
I think we can learn to always question history and always just think that the winner side is the best side and the better view.
Very good. Yes, I agree. That's exactly what I have written down here on my side.
Kind of bouncing off of that, it's kind of like if your textbook says one thing, almost go on your own and look into what the other side was. Because most textbooks only show one part, like especially in US history, it's
Yes.
only US side. So you definitely want to go and do your own research and not just blindly trust any textbook or anything that your teacher says almost.
And that doesn't relate to just history. That's in general, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially in today's societal climate, the news, you really got to look and see where these sources are coming from and what
Yeah.
they're saying and why they're saying it.
I remember before middle school, it was all just American history. And even before that, it was just California history because that's where we are. And it was just kind of boring to me. There was no British side.
You didn't get the Indian side from the, here in California, where, we live on conquered land.
Yeah.
It was Mexico's land here,
Yeah.
and there was Indians that lived there before the Mexicans were there.
Yeah.
And we don't get the Chumash Indians side of things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All like the Indian stuff, like we never learned what they felt like. It was just America. Like we got all this land, yippee. Like you need to know how the Indians felt and
Yeah.
what impact it had on them.
There's a great book by Howard Zinn called The People's History of the United States of America, and it does just that. It goes into the people's, how the people felt. It wasn't just, the rulers and all that and the presidents and all that. It goes into what the people actually thought about these things happening. I think the theme of historical revisionism, negationism today will come up again and again in this podcast because it is such an important topic that really needs to be talked about. Again, what the current administration is doing at historical museums is a travesty right now in historical negationism. They've gone in and removed certain exhibits or reworded things to be more favorable to America. That is not what history is about. History is about learning, not about making us look good. We need to view history as it was, warts and all.
From last episode, with the presidential libraries and the historical negationism, it's like all historical negationism.
Negationism?
Yeah,
Negationism. It's a hard one.
Yeah. The entire library doesn't show any of the bad parts.
That's right. That's historical negationism.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
The whole library is historical negationism.
That's right.
And it only shows the good parts.
Anything from you? You don't have to. I just
kind of building off of what I said prior. I mean, this would have been my connection part, but I mean, it fit better earlier. I'm just going to restate it.
Yeah, for sure.
The U.S. is currently doing what Hitler was doing by erasing the history of the Jews, but it's erasing all of the bad parts of America.
Time for the fun fact challenge. 3 questions. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
I was born ready.
That's right. All right. First one to lock in gets to answer. And there's 3 questions. Number 1. What was the phantom time theory and which years did it say never actually happened?
Locked in. The phantom time theory stated that years 614 to 911 CE didn't exist, and it completely was over.
That's right. Question 2. What kinds of clues do historians use to show that those years really did happen?
Locked in.
Go for it.
The clues that they give is buildings built during that time, astronomical records, and the Chinese and the Byzantine calendars have all that in the time.
That's right. There are records of eclipses, coins, old writings, buildings. That's right. Yep. 1 point for Gavin. It's tied up. Going into question 3. Why is it good to ask questions about history?
Locked in.
Gavin was first.
Dang it. You can't be wrong on this one either.
It's good to ask questions about history because of historical negationism. And you never know what's on the other side. Like reading a textbook in school, you never know what's on the other side of the battle.
That's right. It's good to ask questions about history because sometimes the history that's being told might not be 100% accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Again, they may leave out the bad parts,
That's
like
right.
the presidential libraries.
All right. The phantom time theory might not be real history, but it's a real reminder of why history matters. Dates, documents, and dusty ruins may seem boring, but they're what keep our story honest, because time, like truth, only disappears if we stop looking for it. Now it's time for this day in history. Today is January 8th. 3 big things happened on this day. First one happened in 1877. Crazy Horse fought his last battle.
Who is this Crazy Horse you speak of?
He's a Native American. Crazy Horse and his men, outnumbered, low on ammunition, and forced to use outdated weapons to defend themselves, fought their final losing battle against the U.S. cavalry in Montana on this day. The Battle of Little Bighorn had occurred just 6 months prior, where Crazy Horse and some other leaders and tribes had stunningly defeated General Custer. It was known as Custer's Last Stand. White America didn't like that, so they sent another army. And on this date in 1877, Crazy Horse narrowly escaped the battle thanks to a blizzard. It's the only reason he wasn't killed. and that he was able to escape was because of a blizzard setting in.
And where is this?
This was in Montana.
Wow, a blizzard in Montana. I think of Montana as like a drier place.
Really? Interesting. Well, it's mountainous, so.
I guess, yeah.
Then, being the great leader that Crazy Horse was, he decided to surrender because he knew that the Americans would not stop until his entire tribe was decimated. Zoe, I believe you had something to say about the word Indian and why we use the word Indian.
So a little fun, not really fun, but little like fun, like fact story side tangent. So when Christopher Columbus originally set out on his mission, he didn't set out for the Americas. He set out for India. So when he arrived here in the Americas, he called them Indians because that is just what he thought they were. So
Interesting.
and the name stuck.
Yeah.
So
And we still call them that today.
yeah, I mentioned you guys were using that word a lot, and I was like, huh, I know why did we call him that.
I try and say Native American, but
It's just years of
saying Indian and then realizing that we really shouldn't say that. It's not like it's a bad word or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit disrespectful.
And false.
It's kind of like the CE and AC, all that AD, AC, whatever.
It's really interesting that an entire name that we call race of people is false.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Columbus thought he was in India, and so he called everyone Indians. And I guess it's just stuck.
It just stuck, yeah.
So even until today, some people still call them Indians.
I mean, we were just doing it today on this podcast.
Yes, we were. Yeah, absolutely. Also on this day in 1918, President Woodrow Wilson delivered his 14-point speech. Do any of you know what the 14-point speech led to?
Did it lead to the UN or NATO?
You're close. In front of the joint session of Congress, Wilson gave his 14-point speech, which led to the creation of the League of Nations.
I knew I was missing one of those like nation league things. Like,
interestingly, the U.S. did not join the League of Nations, even though Wilson was the one that created it.
Why is it called the 14-point speech?
Because there was 14 points brought up in the speech of why the League of Nations should be formed.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting.
It is, isn't it? And the last thing that happened, it's kind of a sad one, happened in 2011 on this day, January 8th. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords is shot during a constituents meeting in Tucson, Arizona, another in a line of awful and preventable mass shooting incidents. The gunman killed 6 and wounded 13. Representative Giffords was shot in the head, but she miraculously survived and still makes speeches today at conventions and at universities and things like that. She's an amazing woman to have gone through what she has and still be out there in the public light today.
I think I remember seeing her at, was it the Democratic
National Convention
and her speaking and you telling us about that because I've never heard of her before. And I was just like, she's so strong.
Yeah.
And just like, it was just so like, not eye-opening. It was just so powerful that there's this figurehead went through so much and still makes speeches.
And all for what? It was just for political ideology. It just makes no sense to me. It's why I love studying history, because I want to know why people do what they do and why they have done the things they've done. When you think about how many people have died in the name of God, it's mind-boggling to me. It's why I love studying history.
First of all, it is amazing that she survived in the first place.
Yes.
But also, it's amazing that she's still out there making speeches.
Yeah.
If I were her, I would be scared for my life every single time I would make a speech because of what happened.
Yeah.
But
she's not, and that's what makes her amazing. It doesn't matter what happened to her, she's still going strong, and I love that. Thanks for traveling through time with us on the Ebbs of History. If you like today's story, share it with your teacher, a friend, or your family on Instagram at Ebbs of History. If you have any questions, comments, corrections, show ideas, or just want to chat, you can contact us at questions@ebbsofhistory.com.
Signing off, this has been your co-hosts, Zoe,
Gavin,
and me, Jason, reminding you that history isn't just about the dates and battles. It's about people, curiosity, and the weird, wonderful choices that shaped our world. Until next time, keep wondering, laughing, and learning through the ebbs of history.